Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and it's 12 o'clock noontime on a Friday. What does that mean? Friday Fish and Chips. That's right. In this video, I'm going to talk about money. What do you mean? I'm going to tell you some stories from my life, and I'll give you an opinion on how you should approach money. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. Let's go for a walk. Like I said, I'm going to talk about money. It's kind of a delicate subject nowadays. You know, and you get a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a couple of stories from my life about money, and I'm going to give you my opinion on how you should approach it. So let me see. Let's see how we start. I'm going to start with like a period of time in my life. It was quite a few years ago. I was working for a small company, about 100 employees. You know, and we built robotic work cells. Great job. Loved the job. I loved it. And I accumulated a really good set of skills. And at one point, they transferred me over to a big Fortune 500 company, moved me halfway across the country, and they put me up. They gave me a split-level condo. They paid all my expenses. They gave me a per diem, gas, everything. All my bills, everything was paid for, plus I was drawing a salary. You know, so it was a really good, about 2 years of my life in terms of money. You know, I was doing really well, and particularly because everything was paid for by the company, you know. And so I guess my point there is that I had that period of time in my life where I was experiencing a lot of abundance. Which is, you know, nice, right? Who wouldn't want to, I guess, in today's world that we live in? And I had a job that I loved, you know, and I did a lot of things too. They flew me to Spain, and it was nice. But so that was one period of time in my life. That was quite a while ago. And now let me tell you about another period of time in my life. It was when I quit that company there, if I should explain, I guess, is that company there eventually went bankrupt. Shame to say, and closed down. So, you know, I moved on. I ended up doing other things, going to other jobs, going back to school. And so let's fast forward somewhere around 10 years later, I guess, roughly 10, 12 years later. And I quit my job, and I wanted to start this whole, internet business. And because I wanted to, self-examination, I wanted to do, just things that brought me a lot of joy, And it didn't matter. I'd figure out. I just thought, I'll figure out how to make a living with it. And I eventually did. But the first year that I was on my own little business, I made $900. And that's tough to live a year on that. But I had money saved up, and I had a certain amount of equity and things, and so the first year was okay. I worked a lot to try to get the business going and try to monetize it, and the website. StormTheCastle.com, and the second year things get tougher. Although I made more money, I think that second year I made $13,000. By the end of the second year, my funds had pretty much run out, but I was determined. I was saying, I'm going to stick to my goals here. I'm going to keep building the business. I'm going to keep at it. I don't want to just have to give it up and go back to a job, And by the end of that second year, I had taken my car off the road because I couldn't afford the insurance. I had canceled my telephone because I didn't have enough money to pay for my telephone. And let me see, I set the thermostat in my house to 55 degrees, which made winter very tough, I just worked in a sweater and a hat, and sometimes even fingered gloves, the gloves where you had the fingers so I could type, It was a true story. And I was eating in soup kitchens, I forget now, I think it was like 6 times a week. There were 4 different soup kitchens in my city at the time. And a couple of them were open like twice a week, So I would walk to various soup kitchens now and to keep myself going. And one of the soup kitchens was like, what was it, like 3-4 miles away. And it was a long walk. And I always wondered, am I actually burning more calories here in the walk to and from than I am in eating, But listen, I don't mean to, I guess my point there is that I've experienced 2 very different aspects of money. You know, I had a couple of years there where things were great and everything was just amazing and life was good, you know. And then I experienced a couple of years there where things were tough, you know, and life was difficult. But, you know, it was still fun. You know, I really enjoyed myself during that period of time where things were tough, having the goals set and saying, you know what, I'm just going for it. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And my only real goal was not to lose my house, you know, and I didn't. I didn't lose the house. That was the only real, like, tangible thing. I was like, you know, anything, I'd sell the car, whatever, you know, but don't lose the house. I need a home, you know, I need a place to live. So that was, you know, quite a few years ago now. And, you know, things are pretty good now, about average. But so my point being is I've experienced both ends of a spectrum, kind of. Not extreme, but, you know, I had one end where things were really good, and I had the other end where things were really tough financially in terms of money. So I think I can lend a little bit of perspective on the whole thing about money. So now I'll tell you one more story, and it'll lead into what I think about money and what I think it's all about. A couple of years ago now, I think it might have been 2 years ago now, maybe 3 at the most, I had gone to this museum in Worcester, Massachusetts called the Higgins Armory. And they have all this wonderful stuff. Suits of armor and all knightly things and weapons and a lot of pole arms and swords and all just wonderful. I love that place. And, well, come to find out a couple of years ago, they were closing down. You know, a 19th century industrialist had, you know, built the place and put it all together and had an endowment, I think, for it and everything, but they were closing it down. And all the stuff, a lot of the stuff, I don't know about all the stuff, but a lot of the stuff was going to be auctioned off by an auction house in London. And in a way, I was kind of devastated. But I signed up to be on a mailing list. And shortly afterwards, I got a catalog in the mail. I think it was in the mail. For the auction items from this auction house in London. All the items that were going to be auctioned from the armory. And I was looking through it and all this wonderful stuff. And you know how I am. I love the medieval things, you know. And I spotted this stained glass window. It was of a knight praying. And it wasn't a big window. It was a small window. Not like, you know, something you see in a big cathedral. But it just struck me. It was just how beautiful it was, you know. A handcrafted thing like that of a knight. And I thought to myself, gee, you know, when it comes to money, I'd like to be able to make a quick phone call and say, all right, book me a flight for 3 days in London. I'm going to stay in a hotel. I'm going to go to the auction. I'm going to buy that window, and I'll ship it home. And, you know, that's thought of that stuck with me. Now, at the time, I probably could have done it, you know, but money was a thing. You know, it's something I had to consider. You know, you know, yeah, it equates into it factors into the equation, you know, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to factor in money into the equation. I want to be able to just plot out the things in my life that I want to do, and then, you know, accomplish them. And so that's what I mean by money. You know, a lot of people make a lot out of money. You know, and it's true, you know, money can cause a lot of problems, but that's only because of this perspective that you have on it. You know, you have to, it all depends on how you look at it. I guess with everything else, right? All depends on how you look at it. You know, it's just a tool. It's just a mechanism for trading time and value, right? And you want to have enough leverage in that mechanism to accomplish the things you want to do. And it wasn't so much about, you know, somebody said to me, well, you know, you probably could have bought that stained glass window online auction and gone through that and got it. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this, but the auction house was estimating it to sell for, their estimate was, I think it was either $600 or 600 pounds. I can't remember now. And I said to the guy who told me, well, you could have bought it online, you know, probably could have called in or something. I said, no, but see, that's not really the point. It isn't really about the window. Right? It's just about having the capability in your life to have the experiences and, you know, the relationships that you want. Because when it comes down to it with life, there's really only two things. There's experiences that you have and there's relationships that you have with people, right? And, we have a lot of these things, and money tends to factor into that way. You want things, a nice car and a nice home and all these things, but, it's really those kinds of things, they're kind of a little bit of a, I don't know how to describe this, a little bit of an illusion, So, that's how I want to see myself as a person, as being capable of doing things that like that, whatever they may be. And for me, oftentimes it would be the travel. I love to travel. And I'd like to be able to say, hey, I'm going to see the Swallows of Capistrano, or the running of the bulls, or what's that tomato fight that they have every year? Is it in Spain where they have a tomato fight? Wouldn't that be wonderful to go to see that? To experience that. And money, so even though it sounds a little negative, money can buy those experiences, So that's what I put forth to you. I just wanted to say that you can see money as a difficult thing, and we often have this cliche of people with money are not good people because they somehow tricked people into having money, which I don't think is true, but but that something like thinking like that limits you in your approach to what money really is, and that's just actually the freedom and the ability to to experience things in your life, so that's it. I'm going to give that some thought and be free of the worry of money. Pursue what it really means. The ability in your life to do things that you want to do, and to have things that you want to have. Like a telescope. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Maybe you want a big telescope. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, so let me see. I do have pictures of stuff from the Higgins Armory. It's really quite wonderful. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I had a project a while back now, might be a year or more, where I made something called a gun shield. It's a shield with a gun in it. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to check, but I think I saw that and took pictures of that at the Higgins Armory. I think that's where I found that. It's kind of an interesting little thing. So, okay, so that's my little chat about money.